Stephen Okori, security analyst, joins us in the studios now to look at all these developing issues. Steve, thanks for coming on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.
From 280 to 137, there's a mix-up there in the number of those earlier said that were apprehended and those released and the rest. And a security analyst earlier gave 3 different stages at, securing the release of these 137 children. The military, the statement is that they secured the release. How?
Yeah, thank you for having me to air my perspective on this trending issue or challenge that has been bedeviling Nigeria in the last 10 years or more. I want to start by saying that there's a difference between rescue and release.
Okay.
Yes. When you talk about rescue in such operations, it means that there was either a confrontation between the operatives and the criminal elements. In that regard or in that event, the children were rescued. Perhaps they overpowered the criminal elements and they rescued the children. But when we talk about release, it means something went down. There was some kind of negotiation.
They negotiated settlement.
Yes, it means that there was something that went down, a negotiation, that it's not in the public space, I listened to the governor of Kaduna State. In his statement, he was talking about release. It means that something must have played out.
Money exchanged hands.
Possible, anything. It depends on whatever terms they agreed, because you cannot see bandits or criminal elements go carry children in that number,
And just set them free.
At the end of the day, after 16 days,
they asked for 1 billion naira.
Of course, they asked for 1 billion. So what happened? It's unfortunate that this challenge is there, and it has, for me, if you ask me, it has come to stay. Do you know why? Because perpetrators of these criminal acts, be it terrorists or bandits or kidnappers, and they are after the money. They need,
and they are emboldened to do more.
Yes.
So we're still going to see more of these kidnaps from the schools.
That's the implication. Because in the last 10 years, we have seen about 1,400 students that have been kidnapped from different schools, from Chibok to Dapchi to Kangara to Kankara and the likes, And even Federal Government College in Yauri, some students are still held hostage. This is like 2 years gone, So they don't just do these things for free. Perhaps they want to do it, maybe make some name for themselves, but at the end of the day, they need these resources to sustain themselves and to be able to carry out their terrorism.
Well, don't forget that the federal government, less than a week ago, released the names of, financiers of terrorism, kidnapping, banditry, and the rest.
Yes. Now, it's not out of place. We have seen in the last 2 years where names like this were released from Dubai, about 12 to 15 names. What happened to those names that were
And what happened to the people?
And what happened to the people? That's the question. It's not about releasing these names. The government needs to be serious about this issue. Now, it takes me to the point that we're talking about kidnapping here. I did my thesis, my PhD thesis on kidnapping for ransom. Of course, you know that kidnapping for ransom is what is trending now. And in the course of doing my research, I met kidnappers. I also met victims, So as it stands, I think I have the knowledge about what is really happening when it has to do with kidnapping for ransom in Nigeria at the moment. But is there the will from the part of the government? As a result of my findings, I happened to co-found an app. In the event where somebody is kidnapped, we can know the exact location of the person when the phone of the person is being used to negotiate ransom. Now, the government cannot do it alone. We from the private sector are trying to see how to support the government in fighting or combating this menace that is before us. I did a letter to the Nigerian Governors Forum addressed to the governor of Kwara State. I also did a letter to some security agencies in Nigeria here.
That you have this app that can easily detect.
Exactly.
Is it different from the issue of tracking too?
It's about tracking. From my findings when I interacted with kidnappers, it is the phone of the victims that they use. to negotiate ransom. Now, if the person has this app on his or her phone, as long as the phone is being used to make that ransom negotiation,
you know the exact location.
As I speak to you, this letter I wrote to the Nigerian Governors Forum, just the way I said, to the Director General of Nigerian Governors Forum, to the Senate President, to the Speaker, Office of the National Security Advisor. This is like 6 months. I expect that a call will come and tell us about this app, but no call.
Maybe they are still too occupied with state matters, to look at that. And
when it has to do with security, lives, resources of Nigerians being carted away, according to SB Morgan and a risk and intelligence consultancy firm in Lagos, reported that 2021 to 2022, about 650 million was paid as ransom. 2022 to 2023, 302 million naira was also paid as ransom. These are just reported cases. But of course, you are aware that it is not possible for
the payments of such huge amounts to go without being noticed.
Exactly.
So there is, some people say there is insider complicity in all of this.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on. I don't know how Nigerians are taken, released, rescued, that we hear once in a while in situations like this. I think it's left for them to form their opinion how the operations, were carried out. But the happy thing is that the children are in safe, custody, so to speak.
Yes.
Let's go to Imo State. It's on the boil again, and unwanted killing of security forces. 2 police officers, just taken in cold blood by unknown gunmen. Still overwhelming Imo State.
Yes. You see, I also tag that as an ambush, because when these criminal elements take our law enforcement agents unaware, this is the result we get. It's a serious challenge when it has to do with ambush, and I think that it is important for our law enforcement agencies to see how to increase the tempo of training their personnel when it has to do with ambush, because we can't keep losing our officers like this in that manner, and there's a lot that I think that we should do about it. Most times they just leave themselves unprofessional. They feel that where they are, whether they feel they are safe or something, they should be mentally alert, because considering the job that they do, there are certain communities that are very hostile, like Imo State, for instance. We know the activities of IPOB and ESM and the likes in that state. So I don't think it's where they need to drop their guards.
So it's a war zone. You don't drop your guards.
Absolutely, it's a war zone. So for professionals like that, they shouldn't just commonize when they go out for operations and all that. They need to see that they are mentally alert, and surveillance. It's very important, not to be taken unawares.
Indeed.
So I think there's a lot of trainings that our officers need to undergo when it has to do with that, because we need to see how to counter.
Alertness is key here. Let's quickly go to the boiling Niger Delta again. The Southern Ijaw community, according to the president of the Ijaw National Congress and our own reporter, Ovieteme George, starvation is being used as a weapon by the military in fishing out the killers of the 17 soldiers that were put down in Okwama community in Delta State. Is that area becoming another Gaza? Why wouldn't the military allow foods, allow medicines, allow water to the people? Is that a good strategy?
Yes, if you ask me, it's a good strategy, but in such operation,
use food, is it a war? Is it a war situation? Has it come to the declaration of war?
No, not completely. But we expect such damage, collateral damage, when it has to do with the operations that they are carrying out in the Okoma community and for the other one in Bayelsa. Now they think that the killers are hiding somewhere. If they starve, they must come out. But I don't think that the killers because they know that they're after them. I don't think that the killers will be within that community.
There are more than 5,000 creeks in the Niger Delta. And these people, they know
the terrain.
Exactly. So who says they've not even used one of the several creeks into the Atlantic Ocean and to Cameroon?
And found their way out.
Or to Equatorial Guinea?
So that is why...
so why punish innocent Nigerians? That's all we're saying. Are we in a state of war? Is Okoma and its neighboring communities, like in the Southern Niger community, is it a Gaza situation?
It hasn't got into that. Well, you know, the last time I was here that we talked about this, I talked about surgical operations, you know, trying to see that they target the individuals that have really carried out these attacks on the military. You know, I think they need to do more in terms of...
the entire Nigerian nation, you know, are standing behind the military in condemnation of the annihilation, yes, brutal and gruesome murder of those 17 soldiers. But the question people are asking is that, do you use wrong to right a wrong?
It's not a way to go, to use wrong to right a wrong. But, you know, the military, you know that they are trained how they are trained. They are trained to kill. You know, they are not trained to carry out all these civil unrest and among the civilians, you know. Their training is to kill. That's anywhere in the world when you go to...
That's unconstitutional.
That's the way you look at it.
This is a democracy, isn't it?
I agree with you.
Do they have the power of life and death? It's only the courts that can pronounce deaths on anybody, I mean, based on facts on the ground.
Yes, I agree with you on that. But, you know, when such operations are carried out, of course, you expect that certain people, if not the criminal elements themselves, of course, they will be neutralized during the operations, you know. So you don't expect that they go into such operations.
So why is it much easier to have collateral damage, not avoid collateral damage in the Niger Delta, and you avoid it in the northeast or northwest? Why is it?
Now, you know, there are different terrains, if you ask me. They are different terrain, and that's why we talked about issues.
So it's a matter of territorial situation
and
here.
You know, recall I talked about a negotiation, you know. So perhaps negotiation is what is hindering collateral damage in the northeast, you know, but the government does not come out to tell us that this is what they have done. But this other side of it, was there a negotiation? If there was negotiation, for instance, you would expect what we're seeing today. If the killers were come out to surrender, you know, to give up, you won't expect what we're seeing today, you know. But just the way I said, it is expected, but it is not the way to go. The military, they need to be more professional in carrying out these operations. You don't now, recall that some couple of days ago, same military during clearance operations, they saw the hearts of their colleagues decomposing somewhere in the Okoma community. And you expect them to see that, and they won't get infuriated, you know. So it's annoying, it's barbaric and all that, but I think that they should be more professional and not be killing innocent people just the way they are doing. From what we have said here, about 50 persons or more of innocent people have been killed. I don't think it's the way to go.
All right, thanks so very much, Dr. Stephen Okori, who's a security analyst. Thanks for coming on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.